I'm Rose, I'm Rose, I'm always Rose. Everywhere I goes, I'm being Rose. I'm Rose, I'm Rose, and always Rose. And I ain't stopping till everyone knows.
Hello, my rosebuds, and welcome to my channel, Be in Rose Street, where I'm more than a dozen roses. It's true, I'm a Jill of all trades and a master of some. Now, today's episode, we've got a trigger warning because I'm going to talk about some sensitive things that people might be going through right now, which is redefining abuse, and in particular, partner abuse. So if this is a trigger for you, please swipe on to another video and we'll reconnect again in a different episode. Partner abuse, it's persistent. Like, it never goes away. It's like a ship on fire. Sometimes it's smoldering because things aren't in the forefront of the media, but other times it's blazing. And if you saw my intro right after it, there was like the flames and the caution tape, because that's what it is. It is a 5-alarm fire when it comes to abuse, which can take many sides. But these sides are very deep and distinguished. Now, when you come to a place of clarity in your own mind, you start to reflect on how you contributed to keeping this physical and emotional assault going. Now, I'm not saying that the victim wants this. Don't misunderstand it. I'm saying that we sometimes are enablers of keeping this travesty, this violation, against another, that we keep this going. It's important and necessary that we come to terms with abuse authentically. That way we can pass on the proper information to the other generation. And also for some people of my age, a little bit older, a little bit younger, that are still enduring this. The message needs to be clear. Run. Get out. Run. Choose safety, choose life. A red flag is not a deeper shade of pink. Do you know what I mean? Don't dilute what you see is what it is. A red flag is a red flag. And as victims, we play a tremendous part in this narrative. In the word of a sister of mine, she said, while he didn't break my arm, he broke my heart, he broke my mind, and he broke my spirit. In fact, she didn't even connect that abuse was not only physical. And she had told her husband that even though she knows that he has the ability to harm her, that if he ever chose to physically harm her, then he was also choosing to forsake sleep. Because she had committed in her head that if her partner, husband, physically assaulted her, was that she was going to break those hands that did it. Now, I don't promote violence, and we're not promoting, physical pain for physical pain. It's just that in her head, because she thought only physical abuse was what existed, she had her own cutoff, right? And one time her mother-in-law had given them a set of skillets, and I don't know what triggered her to feel that these skillets needed to come with a message. I don't know what made her think it, but she did say to her husband that, you see that skillet, and you see your two hands, I would put your hands on these books, and I would take that skillet and break your hands if you ever put your hands on me. Which he never did, by the way. But what she explained was that the silence that hung ripe and rotten and pregnant between them, it was clear that her message got through to him. Sealed, signed, and delivered. Now, when we think about victims and redefining abuse, you have to recognize that there's victims, there's victimizers, there's proactive observers, and there's inactive observers. For example, my mother thought that my partner was such a fantastic human being. And you know what? To other people, he definitely was. But she had this lily white vision of who he was. And I used to say that if I was an abused woman, I would be a daily runaway slave. As there's a God and your God, I know that if I can gnaw it or break it, like you would have to chain me to something immobile. Because I am going to try to get away. I'll be gone like the wind. It's my reality. You see these big lips? I'm telling you, if all I was left with this head on my shoulders, I would use these lips to crawl away. As Bob Marley said, well, he didn't say this, but as Bob Marley said, his feet are his only carriage. Well, for me, by any means necessary, I am going to get out. What really surprised me, and I understood that, at that point my mom was an observer, was that I was in my apartment and my door was banging, 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 and it sounded like somebody's trying to kick in my door. I realized it was my ex outside my door, and I called my mother because I know my mother had such a great relationship, and I was hoping that my mother would be able to speak sense into this person that was on the other side of my door. Every vibration, every time the sound thudded into my door and I saw the door jamb vibrate, I kept thinking any second now, that door was going to give up the ghost, and the predator, him, was going to get his prey, me. So I'm screaming on the phone with my mom and telling her what's going on, and it's all a frenzy. And she says to me, she cautioned me really, you guys need to figure it out. And then she ended our call. And I realized at that moment that my mother didn't understand that I may have been in imminent danger. She didn't. And so with the other man inside, I decided at that moment this was not going to continue. So I took the deepest of breaths I had. And I whipped open the door. And I said to him, "What do you want?" His answer? My TV. Your TV? You came to my home, you're kicking down my door at 7 a.m. in the morning, and all you want is the TV? I find that hard to believe. But I also felt that me just standing up at that moment might have performed some kind of exorcism on him and rid him of the devilish mannerism he was coming to me at. And so I had my other man, and when I say other man, yeah, it was another dude. I had another guy go and take the TV apart, and as they exchanged his TV, as the TV changed hands, I could see that their gazes had locked, and that their uncommunicated words were very, very powerful. I don't know what went on between them. But when I closed my door, I breathed a sigh of relief, because I did it. But I said to myself, I'm not only closing this door, I'm closing this chapter, and I'm definitely closing this book. I lied. And some of you, your other man is your faith. You believe in your God, in your Jesus, and that higher power. And that's where you cower. That's where you find refuge and solace in the arms of your Savior. A sister friend of mine, she said that she was experiencing severe postpartum depression, but she wasn't diagnosed for it yet. And she was having trouble breastfeeding her baby. I don't know what altercation happened between her and her husband, but he was in a rage and hit her so hard that she fell to the floor, and she swears she had an out-of-body experience. He was scared too. I'm not saying that when these acts happen that it's 100% malicious intent. Things get out of hand, and we need to stop that wheel. We need to stop things from getting out of hand. And he called his doctor friend first before he called the ambulance, because he didn't want to get in trouble by the police. She was transported to the hospital where her mother arrived to be by her side. But the doctor and the nurse, they knew what this was. They knew this was abuse from just the nature of her injuries. And the nurse took her mother aside and said, your daughter is abused. You need to take care of her. You need to help her. And it was at that moment that her mother stopped being an inactive observer and started being a proactive observer, because she had such a great vision of my sister friend's husband in her mind that she couldn't process that he was doing her harm. And he was so respected in communities. I mean, she was respected as well. He had it all. He had it all, and he looked like he had the characteristic of a great person. And I'm sure somewhere inside there was a great person. But right now, the person abusing my sister friend wasn't great at all. And he was 6'4". She was 5'2". I can't even imagine the tremendous force that she had to absorb in these situations. Her mother said at that moment that if she had to put her daughter on a donkey to get her daughter away from this kind of lifestyle, that she would. And that baby that my sister friend was having trouble nursing as a result of her injuries, her baby boy had to be bottle fed. My sister friend, gave me authorization to tell this story because she wants it to be known that some of us don't survive. That being said, the story that's in the news right now, which is all ablaze, is Major Hype and his ex-fiancée Kirby. And, he was given his story. She's been given her story. The reality is that when you do grow up in an abusive household and lifestyle, you usually become desensitized to the abuse. But let's remember that they are real people. And as we use the public domain to peep into their drapeless windows of conflict and controversy, and we dissect their lives with our jaded and biased lenses, we must remember to interrogate our own biases, to enable our minds to rethink, review, and refocus the definition of abuse. And once we're there, we need to broaden it. Hashtag Major Not So Hype. Hashtag abuse is a major hype. So my rosebuds, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe down below. And while you're down there, please hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when I post my new videos. And if you want me to tell your story anonymously, feel free to message me on my IG at Rose Street, and we can have that conversation offline.
I'm Rose, and always Rose. Everywhere I go, I'm being Rose.